that's going to $15 an hour, then that's one thing. But we're talking very gradual increases, very modest. And in fact, over the 3-year period, I am hopeful that either at the state level or the federal level, there'll be a bigger increase that would make this not as important a topic at the local level, because I'm hopeful at some point this will happen. We have had a minimum wage in this country since 1938, and the economy has only expanded exponentially. The minimum wage, it might cause minor dislocations, but in the macro economy, it has helped make sure that there's a wage floor that helps not only the low-wage workers, but everybody along the line. And in this country, when we look at statistics, the fact is that most of the recovery went to the top 10% of the country. The people earning the low wages or minimum wages did not share in the recovery. And I think, and I asked people here for their support in the next coming weeks. I asked you to contact your local legislators. I asked you to contact your city councilors, because it's an important issue. As others have said, in order to force a statewide movement, it's important that we here also keep pushing, because it's the only way that policymakers in Augusta are going to do anything. It has to start at the grassroots. So, and I have served, just in terms of how I crafted this proposal, I served 4 terms on the city council. I've served a term as mayor. I have supported hundreds of millions of dollars in economic development over 4 terms for this city. I believe in jobs for Bangor. I've worked with so many people and so many institutions. So I believe this will be better for Bangor, that we're helping everybody, and relatively modest increases over time. And I also think it helps focus attention on this issue, which has been, despite the fact that 75% of Americans in most polls, including the majority of Republicans, support an increase in the minimum wage, the fact of the matter is it's stalled in Washington. It's stalled hopefully we might get something out of Augusta, but it's right now stalled in Augusta. We need to have the action happen from the grassroots up. And everybody here is important to that movement. Don't think you're not important. You are important. You only become not important when you choose not to engage and not to get involved. But we need your help and your involvement to help make things happen. So I want to thank everybody. If there are any other questions, come forward.
I don't have a question, but I would like to say, and I really enjoyed the panel. I really got a lot out of it. I'm very happy to have been here. My name is Mark Pryor. I work at the university, live in Bangor. But I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if there had been a union represented on the panel, because I think unions really drive the push for higher wages in America and in the world, and it would have been a really conversation if a union had been on the panel. But I don't want to take away anything from what the panel said, because the panel, I think, was very well put together.
Well, as we said, this is the first event. We're going to have other events involving the minimum wage issue. But I've worked with Jack McKay and others in terms of union issues. But I also think, and I appreciate that, I've worked with unions, I have to, but it's also important because they're not enough in terms of people that have been involved in business have weighed into this debate. Too often it gets divided, and I think it's important to hear some business perspectives so people can see it from different angles as well, because I think that helps in the overall debate.
I do agree with that, and I was very happy to hear it from business leaders.
So, and I understand that your point is well taken. Thank you very much. Yes, come forward, young lady.
My name is Ada Miller, and I live here in Bangor, Maine. I am a return to work from Social Security Disability, and some of my concerns involve health care. Has anybody done a study of, number one, a living wage versus raising the minimum wage? And number two, is there a figure available somewhere that will tell us at what level can we approach the Obamacare purchases for wage earners? Because a lot of people are preempted from being able to purchase the insurance, and then on top of that, they have to try to maintain their homes, their cars, their groceries, their children, and so there's a big variable there. And so that was my concern.
Thank you. Who wants to handle the living wage versus the minimum wage? Obviously, in order to get to the living wage, we have to increase the minimum wage, but what are the statistics? I don't know, Chris, you want? There are statistics in terms of what a living wage is.
We use statistics from the Alliance for a Just Society, and this is out of my memory, so it might not be exact, but I believe the living wage for one person in Maine is computed to be around $15 an hour. Yeah, I'm hearing yeah. And that would include things like critical things in my book, but things like saving for retirement, health care, so on and so forth. If you have a family, if you're a single parent, then that figure approaches $28 an hour, which shows you how much there is left to go before our economy delivers prosperity for everyone. In terms of the health insurance question, I also work on Medicaid expansion in Augusta. So whenever I hear people who are opposed to Medicaid expansion, I say then you should definitely support an increase in the minimum wage if you don't want people to be eligible for Medicaid expansion and get them eligible to buy coverage in the exchange. It's curious to me that people can oppose Medicaid expansion and also oppose an increase in the minimum wage, because there are a significant number of people in Maine who are locked out, who ironically are too poor to buy coverage in the exchange. If we did increase the minimum wage, and with the accompanying spillover effect for low-wage workers, we could see a lot more people lifted into the kind of prosperity where they could afford a policy in the exchange. And that would be great for our state competitiveness as well as for individuals.
Other questions? Yes. Did you say your name?
Melissa, I live here in Bangor.
Okay.
And it's not so much a question as it is a comment. I am one of those people who went to school. I never gave up. I fought to get through school. I graduated just this week. This week, I started a contingent full-time job at the hospital. But guess what? It's not in my degree field. Imagine that. And that's what I hear a lot. It's people who have gone to school, they eventually find work, but it's not in that degree field. So there's that money gone to waste. And I try not to look at it that way because you can't ever take my education away from me. But in these last 2 years, I've been stuck in a part-time minimum wage job. Hours would get cut, so you can't even count on that schedule. And the most we get scheduled for is 20 hours a week. Your hours get cut. Then I couldn't even afford a bus pass, so I would walk back and forth to work, which is 2 miles one way. Snowstorms, whatever. That extra $2 could mean bus pass, could mean boots on our feet. This coat that I'm wearing tonight is a Christmas present because I didn't have money to be able to buy a decent coat. Nobody thinks $2 an hour is going to make a difference, but it does.
Thank you, Melissa. That's what it's all about. Dennis, you have a question? And I'm going to give you the last question, Dennis.
It's more to support what you asked us to do, but I think rearranging our thinking a little. I mean, even people who oppose, many people who oppose the minimum wage will grant us that minimum wage is actually a poverty wage, and that's not their point. Their point is that somehow increasing the minimum wage minimally will hurt businesses and result in an exodus of people, and so lots of calamity is invoked. And so in that regard, we're all encouraged by many people, including the media and others, who worship that the altar of a false deity called job creator. And we all hear about job creators, and these are mythical beings who employ many of us and trickle down benefits to us. And if we do things like increase their taxes or increase the minimum wage, their cost, they're going to get unhappy and they're going to leave and we're all going to suffer. And I think certainly more than one speaker has made the case here that businesses, especially large businesses who predicate their bottom line on minimum wages for lots of people, in fact, may not actually be benefactors as much as welfare recipients that we are all supporting. So we need to kind of rearrange our thinking about that. And when we do, I think we need to come, getting to your point, not only to the meetings like this, which you thankfully arranged for us, but we also need to show up at City Hall chambers and make those sentiments known to decision makers, because this community also has, as you said, has a role to play, and we should really be active.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you. He's absolutely right. We do need your involvement and your support and help. It's critical. I don't know if there are members of the panel who want to say anything further. I want to thank them, though, and I ask you to join me in thanking them, because they have taken time out. They have really come up here, and I really appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. And we're going to call it, we're going to close, but we're going to, I think the members of the panel and myself are going to stick around to answer questions or talk to people and enjoy some great donuts. Thank you. Yes, hold on, Mr. Wellehan.
I did bring some materials to me once, you don't think they can bring home with them. And there's a little article in the spring, it's Saving Capitalism from Painful Demise. It came out of the Washington magazine, and by a wonderful Thomas Spencer, teacher at the University of Southern California. He's trying to put on school like that. Feel free. I'll do you. Thanks.
They have a good day? That's what I did last weekend.
No wild parties. Yes, I think it was a good discussion.